second by Janutus. Call the roll.
Janutus,
Yes.
Mezak,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochi,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Council, you have the minutes of the work session of September 20th, 2021. Any corrections? Seeing none, can I have a motion for acceptance by Mezak, second by Asbury? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Mezak,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochi,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
And you have the minutes of the regular meeting of September 20th, 2021. Any corrections there? Seeing none, can motion for acceptance by Janutus, second by Spinks. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Mezak,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochi,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
And under old business, we have ordinance number 9899-21.
Which is an ordinance replacing ordinance number 7780-05 relating to water rates, section 911.01E specifically, and declaring an emergency.
And we wish to keep this second reading. I have a motion for such by Asbury, second by Mezak. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Mezak,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochi,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Ordinance number 9900-21.
Amending ordinance number 9816-20, section 911.03 of our codified ordinances entitled Rate Reduction for Disabled Persons and Senior Citizens for Water and Sewer Discounts and declaring an emergency.
And again, it's our wish to put that on a second reading. I have a motion for such by Spinks, second by Janutus. I'll call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Mezak,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochi,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
And we have ordinance number 9901-21.
Which is also an ordinance amending ordinance number 9817-20 concerning section 913.02 concerning sewer rates of our ordinances and declaring an emergency.
Again, we wish to do that on second reading. Can I have a motion for such by Asbury, second by Saunders? Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Mezak,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochi,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
And now we come to reports. Mr. Ballas, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. One item I wanted to touch base on, I'm sure everybody had seen the recent news stories regarding UH hospitals' decisions across their whole system, but specifically the decision that'll affect Bedford's Medical Center. They did make the decision to, in the near future, they're going to be closing the ICU at Bedford Hospital, along with Richmond Hospital, as well as the operating room. So obviously there's a number of effects to that, which we are anticipating. We don't have further information as far as how many people it would affect, what the effect as far as the dollar figure, but it's going to be substantial. I mean, we're going to lose some high-paying jobs that are going to be shifted to other hospitals. The reason for this is a direct result of the pandemic and staffing concerns across their entire system. They need to increase their nurse-to-patient ratio, and those staffs that are going to be leaving Bedford are going to be transferred to either downtown main campus or a Hoosier. But first and foremost, the hospital is remaining open. The emergency rooms there, diagnostics, imagery, the doctors that are currently there will remain there. They've made it very clear that they're committed to Bedford. If they didn't find themselves in this situation, this would not be a decision that they'd be making. And again, obviously, it was brought on by the effects of the last 18 months. As we learn more, we'll obviously share that information. We'll share it either through our social media platforms, website, or at our council meetings. But again, this announcement was just made last Wednesday, and I believe the staff that were affected were notified on Thursday. So this is all very fresh. The administration, we did make some final tweaks to the Broadway project, the project that is going to involve water line work, curb repair, and electrical. Those should be finalized within the next week, and then we'll start advertising to bid that project. As we've said for a few months now, this is going to start this year and will run to the spring. It is imperative that we get it done before next summer, as ODOT is planning to come in and resurface all of Broadway, corp limit to corp limit. So we want to make sure we have our portion completed beforehand. And we will be communicating to the businesses throughout the historic district and residents in the area. It is going to be our recommendation that all construction take place overnight to avoid closing Broadway during the day. That's something that we don't want to happen. We want to limit the impact to our businesses as much as possible. So we are going to be recommending, again, evening hours for that construction. But again, as we go out to bid and award a contract, more information will be made available. Friendly reminder that we have an upcoming ward meeting for wards 2 and 5 on October 11th. That will take place at 7 o'clock right here in council chambers. I also want to mention that there's a number of programs currently being offered and advertised for through the Parks and Recreation Department. Please go on our website, follow the department. I know there was some information that was recently shared through the constant contact, emails, and again, the department's social media outlets regarding all of those opportunities. Please take a look. There's a lot of new and interesting programs. And lastly, I just want to mention, unfortunately, we had a number of vehicle break-ins and garage break-ins that occurred last week. I do want to mention some of these that we experienced. They're often crimes of opportunity. All of the vehicles that were gone through were all unlocked. One of those vehicles was unlocked with the keys inside. All of the garages were left open. Again, just please lock your vehicles, shut your garages. Some of those things will help deter those instances and again, crimes of opportunity. End of report.
Thank you. Mr. Montello.
Mayor, I have no report, but would echo his concerns about the break-ins. I hope everybody would not leave their keys in their car or take better precautions. Other than that, just want to thank everybody for coming, and no report other than that.
Thank you. Mr. Gambosi, Finance.
Just make note, our Assistant Finance Director is here, Jennifer Howland, tonight. I don't know if she's on the camera or not, but she's here this evening, participating. One issue I do have that I do need to bring up, it seems like our filings of tax returns are lower this year. Remember, May came and went, that time period and for filing has already come and gone. We need to get that done before we go after it and start going to court for people. So we do have that option of you dropping it off at City Hall. We have a mail slot over here, or you can mail it directly to our City Hall to the tax department with your W-2s. We'll help prepare the returns for you and get that back out to you if any amounts due. And many times people don't even owe and they just haven't filed. Remember, anybody age of 18 and older must file. So you do have a requirement of filing in the city of Bedford. There are exceptions to seniors who who have no income anymore have filed 1 year already. If you haven't done so, you need to do it this year. Then at that point, we will excuse the filings until you have other income. So there's state penalties involved with this, so I would suggest that you get those in immediately so that we can process those returns on your behalf. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Mr. Janutus.
Why, thank you. Just a reminder, like I already mentioned, next Monday, October 11th, is the ward meeting for wards 2 and 5. And I think at least one of them is the best ward, and I won't say which.
Thanks,
Yes. And presenting a unique opportunity to hear about all that's going on. And a lot of good things are happening, I think you'll find out. And to voice your concerns and ask questions of all the various department heads, so that doesn't happen very often, so this is a tremendous opportunity. Also, as Mike mentioned, I think it's a good idea to take a look at the wonderful programs made available by the Division of Parks and Recreation. It's pretty impressive. And this comes at a time we're, of course, transitioning from mostly Little League Baseball as in the past, and Little League Baseball will never be as popular as it once was when I was a kid, there's no doubt about it. But there will have to be some decisions made on what to do with all the ball diamonds, like at Taft Park, no longer in use, the backstops, the chain link fences, the benches, etc. I would suggest we should make an effort to restore soil fertility of the various grounds for the purpose of our natural capital, if only to reseed with clover and eliminating chemical inputs. In recent times, we have been witnessing empty store shelves, and it has been reported as many as 2.5 million Ohioans, 1 out of 5 people, have sought basic food assistance. We've seen our school-aged children being fed from parking lots. We are all groping for an uncertain vision of a so-called new normal, inexplicably in a state in which the #1 industry is agriculture. In our proud history, in the historical society, our museum, agriculture has had a dominant role in the founding of Bedford, with all the mills along the river and whatnot. There's a picture up there, if that's the one, and it has been here, that shows Bedford way back in 1888, and I think that might be the one right there. And if you look around at it, there were hardly any trees in Bedford. The only trees were fruit trees. Now, all our food comes from, on average, 1,500 miles away, with dubious and documented decreasing nutritional value and a nationwide health crisis affecting every one of us. Now further, we've been hearing about all these ships circling the ocean, not being able to land and not having workers to unload them, etc., etc. So it's very clear that these supply lines are more precarious than ever before, and the situation will get worse. My dear mother always told me without chickens, my family would have never survived the Depression. And now we are in a long-standing recession, second only to that Great Depression. The city of Bedford, for its part, has provided, through grants and other government programs, large amounts of food to residents. And so have area churches, and of course, Meals on Wheels has always been ongoing from the past as well. We changed our laws for a greater allowance of vegetable gardens, and simple things like collecting rainwater is not permissible, and there is more we should endeavor to do in terms of removing prohibitions of home food production. Sadly, we still live in times when the general public is not well informed about the harmful effects of popular lawn care products. Our mayor has often reminded us to let those grass clippings stay in place and not send them to the landfills. And I agree. Things are changing, and people in general are heading in a good direction, attempting to eat healthier diets, limiting their use of plastics, and so on. So thanks in large part to the youth of the nation and the world who cannot tolerate the very real prospect of living in a dying world. Thank you. End of report.
Thank you. Mrs. Mezek.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I just had a couple questions to our city manager, if I may. I had a couple phone calls the last couple weeks, but I've been busy in the earlier part of the day. When a person is going to move, and I've referred her to the building department, and I didn't get a chance to talk with Calvin. What are the regulations on a dumpster in the yard or a pod? Is there anything set in stone that they have to do in order to have one for their homes?
So they,
Instead of dumping them on the front lawn, they have a dumpster brought in?
yeah, they can get one, but there's a limit, I believe it's 30 days. They
Okay.
can have it in the yard.
Okay.
Yeah,
You contact the building department in regards to this?
Yeah, and you can
Because that's
notify
how
them.
I referred them. And then the same thing with the pod.
Correct.
Okay. And then what happened, or is anything gonna happen with Dairy Queen on Broadway? Are they going to do something in that store or just leave it there?
There was a gentleman that had purchased it to put something in there. It actually went to planning a couple years ago, but that had fallen through. We have not received another use yet.
And I have, my last question is, has that resident at the corner of West Glendale and Trinity Road across the street from the school with this large green fence of shrubs been notified to get it trimmed?
Yes.
Thank you, thank you. No more report, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Asbury.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple things tonight. First off, Mike, I'd like to thank you and the police department. For the last couple months, we've been trying to get those not abandoned, but the trucks that have been parked in the Muni lot, a couple box trucks and a little Dodge Caliber, and those are finally taken care of and they're out of there, so I appreciate that. And I know some of the business owners do too.
Thank you.
This week is the last week for the chipper service for the year. So hopefully you called and got on the list. If not, maybe you might be able to get on it. Give them a call, service department, find out, but this is the last week. Friday's the last day. That would lead into the leaf pickup service, which I believe is supposed to start mid-October. Basically when the leaves start falling, get them down to the tree lawn. Please don't put them in the street because they clog up the sewer grates. But there's no set schedule on that, right? They just pick an area and they just keep going and going.
Yeah, we typically start, we'll bring out one crew once they start at the very beginning, and then as it picks up, we'll bring out multiple crews and get through town, word by word.
All right, so we're kind of wrapping things up, events on the square. This past Wednesday, we had our last summer concert series with Pop-Tarts. I'd like to thank the Parks and Recreation Department. Pretty short notice this year coming out of COVID after the governor lifted all the sanctions. They did a pretty good job putting a summer concert series together, even though it went into early fall because we had a rain out. But I think all 6 were fairly well attended, and I think people were happy to be able to get out and enjoy each other for a little while. So, and I know there's some good things being planned for next year already, so look forward to that. Bedford Downtown Alliance had their last, first Friday. This past Friday was fall fun and Pooch Parade, pretty well attended. The kids dressed up, they got some free candy and some gifts, and they got some prizes. They brought their pooches down, we had a little judging for the smallest, the cutest, the biggest, you know, there should have been one for the loudest, because there was this little chihuahua that just wanted to fight everybody. But it was a good time on the square. Dot was down there, we were taking some pictures and video, and it wound up being a really nice time. The following day was the Children's Fall Fest, which I didn't have a chance to attend, but I saw some pictures and I talked to some people, and they said it was a really nice event for the kids. Again, thanks to the Park and Recreation Department on a great job there. Coming up, we've got the Bedford Historical Society Spirit Walk, which is going to be Saturday, October 23rd, Sunday, October 24th. And it's basically a guided tour of the cemetery, and you learn about some of the legendary residents, citizens of Bedford, some of the people that are buried there. They'll have people in costume giving a rundown of some of the things that happened in the past. So that sounds like a great event. I'm definitely attending that. Parks and Recreation Department, again, these guys are on the ball. My wife actually pointed this out to me for the next, and it's been happening the last couple months, I believe, but the next three Thursdays, October 7th, 14th, and 21st. You can go down to the Willard Pavilion at Ellenwood, and there's a lady that comes down. Her name is Melinda from So Artsy Paint Studios, and each week they have a painting that they recreate. And I guess you don't have to be an artist, so that would be great for me. But all supplies are given to you I think it's from 6 to 8. And if you'd like more information on that, you can go to the rec department, bedfordoh.myrec.com. Sounds like a pretty decent time. We did have a new business opened up in the downtown area called Fitwise Cardio, okay? I was down at the event Friday night, the Pooch Parade, and I saw some people working out. It looks like a good time. I think maybe some of us might use a little cardio. So if you're inclined, go see them. The address is 684 Broadway. New business. Let's show them some love down there. Other than that, I think that's about it. And a report.
Thank you. Mr. Saunders.
All right. First thing, this one's from Mike. The Red House, it's just east of the convenient mart Phil's over there. That place has been run down now for a while, but they've had rubbish on their tree lawn for 3 weeks, and it hasn't been picked up. There's a mattress, there's garbage, there's rubbish, everything over there. I can't blame Kimball for not picking it up, because I wouldn't pick it up either. But something needs to be done over there. I would assume it's probably an absentee landlord in that multifamily house, but that place is really tearing down the neighborhood in its condition that it is in. It was mentioned about the car break-ins. Your best bet is don't leave anything out visible, because there's a little tool that people don't realize that these crooks are carrying, that they can just tap your window, not make a sound, and whether you lock it or not, they're in. So be cognizant of the fact that if you're gonna leave your car outside, don't leave anything visible that looks of any value. So, or you may find yourself replacing a window. But the other big thing is I doubt very likely if the tree lawns on Northfield Road, south of the dollar store, called their branches in, but quite a few of those houses have branches out on the tree lawn. So I just want to make sure that those get picked up, because one set has been there for over a month. So, and then the hospital, it's bad news that for what we hear in there, it happens to be not only the biggest business in my ward, but I think it's the biggest business in the city right now. But let's hope that it is only temporary, but as most people know, once they get used to taking something out, it's rare that something goes back in. So let's just hope that this is only a temporary caused by the pandemic primarily, and that things can be returned back to normal here eventually. I got a quick question for Mike. The signs that we put up, especially the one by Burger King, announcing the downtown and some of the other ones throughout town, the signposts were the 18 inches behind the curb. The problem is the signs are almost like right on the edge of the road. If you get a truck that has a big overhang, they're gonna take some of those out. I think they were placed too close to the edge of the road in some cases. And we might wanna look at that, just play it safe before it does get knocked out. So, and then two more quick things. The other day there was the school board had a candidates night. I don't know if people in this town or the four communities really realize that with 3 new school board members coming on the school board, they have probably one of the biggest decisions to make that the school system has had in the last few years. The state has mandated new classroom styles and types and configurations and whatnot. The school system is within the next 2 years, and that'll include the people that get elected, are gonna have to make the decision as to what to do with the facilities that are currently in Bedford. So I would suggest that people ask their candidates what their feelings are on this, because it's going to be one of those things that in reality we may not have much of a choice on, because the state's mandating some of this. So we want to put somebody in there that's going to understand how and where and what not to do with the future of our school buildings themselves. So this is a big election for the school board. And then finally, the water main project on Broadway. You mentioned that they're going to try to do this at night, and I'm going to say good luck. You're going to trench those water line connections across the road. You've got to go underneath a 30-inch water main, and there's 2 huge AT&T ductwork systems also. You've got to get under both of those and get it back up and make the connection to the water line without having too severe of a bend, otherwise they'll collapse at a later date. But I don't see them being able to do the trenching in an overnight manner. It's going to take several days to do some of those. So I hope someone has looked at those plans to make sure that that is a feasible thing to do. But the AT&T ducts are actually probably more of a problem than the big water main. So you've got to be able to bring those back up to make the connection to the system. And it's going to be not an easy job. So I just bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Spinks?
Good evening, everybody. Big, huge kudos to the rec department. I know pretty much everybody tonight was kudos, but this weekend's Kids Fall Festival is always one of my favorite things. Usually I'm the one doing the face painting. Well, the kids this year, they got to use their creativity. They're inside artists and paint blocks, and the kids were so excited. Of course, I had several kids coming up saying, "Miss Sandy, are you face painting?" I said, "No, you're painting." And the mayor came up, and the kids were excited. And there was a lot of colored rocks. There wasn't a whole bunch, but they were just the little kids. I had more little, like 2 and 3-year-olds, and they were so serious about getting every spot of that rock covered with paint. Of course, they got their hands and some other places covered with the paint too. But just the amount of work that all of these, and a lot of them are volunteers like myself every year, donate their time. And, Ani, well, not only the rec department, it's the girls up here at City Hall, Debbie, Ani, Brittany, Tessa, all, get in there, and they just had, each year they add something new. And it's another reason I'm so proud of living here in Bedford, because the things that our cities do for our residents are kids. And of course, everybody knows that kids and seniors are very dear to my heart, so that was good to be able to watch the kids being able to create something and take it home with them. Now I'm gonna switch to Mike. I have a question for you, Mike. Any news on getting some trash cans around town?
We did purchase some of them that we replaced downtown, and we added a few downtown. Some of the ones that were pulled from some of the parks have to get refurbished, so we are looking at it, but we haven't decided yet specifically if we do, where those would go.
And I did some of the companies that I'm reaching out on, the trash picker-uppers and stuff that I was trying to get some grants and stuff. There's trash cans in there too, because I've had several residents that it's just the outreach response to, the Bedford Pain Coalition starting. Residents are stopping me daily. Of course, I'm out 3 times a day picking up trash, and the residents are just really, helping out, being appreciative, and starting to do, it's aggravating. It's not your trash, you're not throwing it out, but it is your city. There was kind of a remark made saying, well, you can put as many trash cans as you want, and it won't do any good. Well, yeah, it will, because those people that are getting out, walking their dogs and taking their trash bags with them and picking up trash, they have somewhere to put it instead of having to drag it in their car or drag it back to their house. So signage, I've seen that in city signage, yeah, doesn't work, but I think the extra trash cans will, kind of gonna respond to some of the stuff that Wally was talking about today. It was just on a Monday, the styrofoam containers that are just so gross, picking up with food still left in them. And of course, and I'm thinking of the kids, the food pantries at school, Meals on Wheels, different things, and making sure I have families that are fed and stuff are thinking about, this is like a whole week meal for somebody, and someone is throwing it out and littering our city with it. And just, the styrofoam containers, it's killed me. I've talked to a couple of restaurants and stuff I know in Texas and Louisiana, they don't have styrofoam, and it's cut down on the littering, and those things are not biodegradable. Plastic bottles, liquor bottles, which I've been able to take a lot of the liquor bottles and give them to a friend of mine that is an artist that repurposes glass. So that I was able to take trash and turn it into treasure, but, Wally, it's amazing. And it's, to me, I've been picking up trash. I used to just do it on Sunday after church. It was my little thing to give back to the community. Well, now I'm doing it every day. I said I've been doing it for 14 years. I haven't been doing it every day for 14 years, but it's just like COVID, more people eating out. And it's just like, people are talking about they don't have money, they don't have this. Well, food, that you purchase out, it's just a kind of mind-boggling of the waste that's going on in our city. But, and I'm appreciative to the residents that are doing their part in helping me pick it up and trying to clean up Bedford. I appreciate that. Don't forget that this month is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And guys, you can also get breast cancer. 1% chance, but they do mammograms for guys. So just like women that do monthly checks, you also need to check yourself too. So Wally, do you have a question? In a report.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
I just think it's wonderful, Sandy, that you're picking up trash around town. I've done a little bit of that myself, and I think that your citizens should just have a zero tolerance mentality about trash. And like you say, it's not your trash, but you're looking at it, hating to see it, it's in front of it, just pick it up. I mean, we should all do that because it's really no one else's job. And it is one of the most unsightly things in the entire city, period.
But it's everywhere.
Thank you.
Thank you. The only thing I got for Mike is, because everybody's said everything that needs to be said, and I appreciate all that. Parking on tree lawns has gotten way out of hand again. And there's some that are just chronic, they're there day in and day out. And we've said this many times over the summer especially, let's start clamping down on those. Because you talked about trash, you got a car on your front lawn, that looks pretty trashy too. So, we need to focus on that for a bit. I know the police are doing all they can and they're really, really busy, but it's just another one of those quality of life issues that make our town look better. All right, let's get on with the new business. Ordinance number 9904-21.
It's an ordinance authorizing the city manager to modify the contract with Elliott Sign Company for the signs and wayfinding program that we passed last year and declaring an emergency.
Okay, can I have a motion for suspension? Spink, second by Janutus. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Mezak,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Mezak, second by Saunders. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. This, it was an additional $5,820 that was spent for the electrical work and internet service to the sign on Broadway, the digital sign at Automata Park. This is what this fee reflects. The majority of that program was paid for through grant dollars. All of the signs, including that one, this is the last piece to close out that project.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Mezak,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Ordinance number 9905-21.
Authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into a contract with Mazda of Bedford to purchase a 2021 Mazda CX-5 to be used by court personnel for their daily operations and declaring an emergency.
I have a motion for suspension. Spink, second by Janutus. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Mezak,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Motion for third and final. Mezak, second by Asbury. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. We're working with, actually, municipal court employees, we're working with Mazda. Originally, we were looking at a lease. It was more financially prudent to purchase this vehicle. The last time we purchased one that the court personnel used was in 2007. This is replacing a 2007 Chevy vehicle.
Mayor, just so it's used to serve subpoenas and, serve lawsuits and, which they do, go downtown, they do it on a, daily basis. It's quite a bit of, actually, I believe we have two full-time people who work doing it, so they need a vehicle to, the other one just got too many miles and it's too old, it needs to be replaced.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Mezak,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
And ordinance number 9906-21.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the Cuyahoga County Board of Health to provide services and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension. Mezak, second by Asbury. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Mezak,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Motion for third and final. By Janutus, second by Spinks. Mike?
Mayor, this is a contract that we've, for years have worked with the Board of Health on many different avenues. They provide a service that is necessary for Bedford and all of Cuyahoga County. We've especially seen a lot of their work right up front over the last 18 months in dealing with the pandemic. The director, Terry Allen, regularly was briefing our county mayors and managers, and staff was really stretched thin. As far as their communication, their response, they really did a very good job, and obviously not out of the woods yet. This is our regular contract that we do pass. I will say that based on the information that was sent on Friday, outlining their services, as well as some of the response numbers regarding the pandemic, we are going to be experiencing a 10% increase. This contract is roughly $78,000 for 2022 and $86,000 for 2023.
Yeah, and sounds like a lot of money, but by state law, we have to have a health department in the city. So we would have to create a whole department and hire someone or some people to fill it. So the state does allow you to contract through the county health, which we've done for years, because it's a more prudent way to do it, and they do a good job for us. So, clerk, call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Mizek,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Koji,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
And now we come to hearing of citizens. If you wish to speak, please come forward, state your name, your address, and your comment.
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Derek Harris. I live at 174 Greencroft. My issue is the parking on Greencroft. I've noticed that from Broadway up to Thames, every pole has a no parking sign on the south side of the street. I live on the south side of the street, but I live between Thames and Crestwell. I know there's some issues in my neighborhood with neighbors not getting along, and one of the neighbors saying that it's a racial issue when it's not. The reason that I'm here is because where I live, the house to my left and we share a piece of property that's basically a car length wide. Okay, when people in the neighborhood come and visit other people that live there, and it could be a lot of them that come at certain times of the year, holidays and weekends and stuff like that. Since there's no parking past Thames, they park on the upper part. Okay, because of that small piece of property, they park there as well, and it makes it hard for myself and my neighbor to get in and out of our driveway. Now, I was asked by my council person, Ms. Spinks, to call the police, but it's basically not a feasible point because there's nothing there that says that they can't park there. It's a safety issue, when they park there, it's only one lane of traffic. You have to wait for the cars to go by before you can get around. And then when I get to my driveway, depending on where the car is parked, it either makes it harder for me to back in my driveway, which I do all the time, or for my neighbor to get in and out of their driveway as well, because of how big the space is. So I'm asking for a no parking sign just on that little area, because of the fact that it's hard to get in and out of our driveways when they have company because of the parking situation on the street.
Councilwoman Spinks is always talking about parking problems up in those areas, and we can certainly look into that and get together with the police chief and see about getting a sign there.
I would appreciate it,
Yeah,
because I mean, I have pictures in my phone. I came home last night from work, and the night before, I get off at 10 o'clock at night on Saturday and 11 o'clock on Sunday. When I came up the street, there was a car parked in that spot. And it's really dark up there. I don't know whether it's, you know, a lighting issue, you know, city lighting.
Sorry.
I don't know whether it's a city lighting issue, but it's darker in in the area that I live. Usually if a car goes slow enough and it's close enough to the curb, I have a light on my garage that lights up my driveway, but it's still hard to get in and out that driveway when somebody is parked in between my house and the house on the left.
Well, we can certainly take a look at that.
I'd appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Good evening, Lori Laughlin, 318 Solon Road. I have other reasons for being here, but I wanted to express to the council how disappointed I was to hear that the contract that you approved tonight for the purchase of the vehicle has essentially already been consummated, and the court already owns it. And I'd like to know if there's going to be something. I understand the value of what they do, for sure, but I think we've got the cart before the horse here. And I'd like to know what council's plan is. 14-year-old vehicle, I get it. But is there anything that the council's going to do to make sure that that doesn't happen again? With this purchase or any other purchase?
Well, for one thing, with the state of affairs the way they are in vehicles, to get one, you gotta grab when you can. Mazda normally gets well over 100 cars a month. Last month they got 6. And the president of Mazda North America said, you might not get that many next month. So they needed the vehicle. The court did their due diligence. They looked at many different vehicles on the auto mile and felt that was one that met their needs. So they put the offer on it. Yeah, it was. Had we turned it down tonight, the car would have had to go back. But it was just one of those situations because of the way the state of affairs is in the world. I don't know, Mike, if you want to add anything to that.
You touched on it. I mean, we've never purchased a vehicle prior. If it's a police cruiser, if it's service vehicles, anything like that, it's always come in front of city council first.
I guess that's kind of my point.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand that it would have had to go back. It didn't, nobody should have been surprised that the vehicle was turning 14 years old. I think that's an easy thing to figure out. And I think the last 18 months probably, again, understand the issue with getting vehicles. But that's, what I don't want to see is a purchase made before it's approved. Understood it would have had to go back. Yes, it could have been difficult, but what's to prevent it from happening again?
I'll make sure the court's aware of that on Tom Day. Because, yeah, he arranged that.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those situations that, yeah, should it happen that way? Probably not.
Right.
But in the scheme of things right now, things are so different day to day for what's going on. And again, we could have turned it down, it would have went back, and no problem.
Understood. I just don't,
Yeah.
when things are done this way and it's approved,
And it's,
it kind of feels like it's
yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's
And
a
I want to
rare,
make sure it's
it's
not
a
okay.
rare thing that doesn't happen. So. But I appreciate your comment on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Duber, 134 Harriman. I have a question on basically on sidewalks. And I had mentioned before about trees overhanging sidewalks. If there's trees overhanging sidewalks and they're coming from the resident's side, how are those taken care of by the city?
as far as if it's not a tree lawn tree,
Right.
if there's an overgrown tree hanging down, we will send, what we'll do is between our arborist and the building department, they'll get together and then a letter will go out to the resident
I-
to trim that.
Is there any possibility that the city would have a crew go out possibly with and I know the city has some ATVs, and actually go through the whole sidewalk of the city? I mean, that would only take a couple days if you were on a vehicle, and make a list of those areas where that needs to be done.
Where the homeowners' trees are overgrown?
Yeah.
That'd be quite a list probably.
Yeah. We can look at that. If there's, what we say is if there's a specific, or if someone has a concern about that, we can go out, we can look at it, we notify that individual. In a perfect world, we could do that. Our biggest challenge as far as that goes is it's manpower. To say, can't do it in the fall because, as Councilman mentioned, we're a week or two away from leaves and it's kind of all hands on deck. And then spring comes and we're just getting ready to get out there. But it's something that I'll look at for sure. The only thing to be a deterrent of that, it would be a manpower thing. Just as far as the staffing dedicated to send someone out and do that. We don't have like an ATV, like a four-wheeler. We have, I think our vehicle that we would have in our Parks and Recreation Department, I think it would be too wide, and I would hate to mess up someone's, their yards. I think it's actually wider than the walks, but I can check, yeah. I get it, it's a good suggestion. Manpower wise, I don't know how feasible, I don't wanna promise something that we might not be able to deliver on. But if there's any specific locations or a tree or whatnot, I would advise anybody, send that over to us, send me an email or a text, we'll take a look at it, and if it warrants having a letter sent out to that resident, we'll do that.
And the other thing, a couple weeks ago, there was a story in the paper, and I believe it was Brooklyn, that did a program called Oops, and it had to do with recycling, where and I believe it was through a grant, that they had gotten money and actually had someone go through and check the residents' recycle bins, and found out basically people aren't recycling properly. And I know you've seen it, I've seen it. Situation fairly recently where people had insulation stuffed into the recycle bins, and then it's blowing all over the street.
What was that city? I'm just out of curiosity.
I think it was Brooklyn.
All right, I'll touch base with Mayor Gallagher or Jen in our first suburb, or in economic development, also works in the first suburbs. I'll have her look into that, or where they got the grant from to do that. I would agree with you that recycling is a huge issue, and that's everywhere as far as people not recycling properly. We actually spoke about it about a week ago in our budget preparations. Our trash contract's going to be coming up in a couple of years, and we're kind of monitoring with some of those that have already gone out to bid, what's happening with the price of recycling. It's skyrocketing, because obviously it's costing the haulers significantly more money, more staffing, they have to separate more. We're seeing a lot of communities that are shifting to recycle every other week instead of weekly, to try to limit the cost of these upcoming contracts. So it's something that obviously we're aware of. But we'll check in with Brooklyn and what that program entails, and if they did get grant money, where they got that grant money from.
It's called Oops, OOPS.
There's a sticker they put on the trash.
That was an article in the Plain Dealer a few days ago.
I think it was about a week ago.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Welcome back to your seat. Yeah, thank you for a while.
This now.
Seeing none, we have a motion for adjournment by Spinks, second by Janutus. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Mizek,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochi,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Well, thank you all for coming and for watching on TV.